Okay, I'm going to start recording this class. Hi, my name is Renee Hobbs. This is EDC 534, Seminar in Digital Authorship. And I'm here with Lauren, Kathleen, Pam, and hopefully some more students will be joining us. But if you're not joining us live, you're watching this recording, and we're happy that you are. We have a pretty great agenda for tonight. I'm really looking forward to tonight's class, and so I'm just going to give you a kind of an overview of what I'm hoping we can accomplish in our bit of time together. So there we go. So this is the class homepage. I think, yep, digital authorship. Our topic this week is digital storytelling. And the inquiry question that we're asking tonight is, what makes digital narratives so powerful and complex as a tool for learning? Some of the readings that we did this week were really about kids as digital authors and engaged in practices of digital storytelling, telling their own stories. So that's our focus question tonight. I wanted to start just by making a few comments on the really great work that you're doing on the PDF annotation tool. Lauren, you and I was responding this afternoon to some questions that you put up on the PDF. I feel one thing I'm really liking about your comments is that you're making reflective questions about pedagogy back from those readings, and including thinking about how these concepts apply in your own context, and then maybe how they apply in different contexts. So that's been real, and your questions made me have questions. So I love the way the PDF allows us to kind of build on each other's work. And some people are also doing incredibly great things with the drawing tool. Who did the heart? I don't know who did that heart, but on the StoryCorps PDF annotation, some of you guys were annotating that in really creative ways. Was that you, Pam?
I think so.
Oh,
at the end.
What? Yeah, at the end. Like, this is a resource that's awesome. Yeah. Really appreciated that. So I'm pleased with how you've managed the sort of collaborative process of PDF annotation as a form of discourse, and that's going to come in handy for your next LEAP project, which involves you collaborating with a colleague. But before we talk about that one, I want to, since our theme this week is digital storytelling, I wanted to invite you to start imagining for LEAP 3. So I want to introduce your LEAP 3 project. So just a reminder on how that works, right? This semester, you're doing 3 LEAP projects, which are these short, small media projects. Your first one is due this Friday, LEAP 1, and some of you have already got those together and up. I see on the Twitter sphere some links. Can't wait to start looking at those this weekend. Your next project is LEAP 2. That's a collaborative project, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of the class. But way out in the future, on March 29th, it's not that far away, right, is the digital storytelling project. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that right now. There it is. So on March 29th, I'm going to ask you to have created a digital story of your own. You get to compose a digital story on a topic of your choice. You can choose a podcast, a video production, or a screencast. Your story should be under 6 minutes in length. You already are starting to read about the theory and practice of digital storytelling, and I'm going to give you some more resources to support that. At the Center for Digital Storytelling, of course, some sample stories from The Moth, some sample stories from StoryCorps. Your story can be about anything. Free choice. Any kind of content you want, any story you want. But compose your story based on the goals and expected impact described below. So think about the criteria for evaluation when you pick your story topic. Because it's storytelling, the format is narrative, right? Someone is the protagonist and they have a conflict, and the conflict gets worse and worse, and then it gets resolved, and there's some kind of meaning or significance to that story, right? Format-wise, you have some choice. You'll move through the phases of production that we learned about in Create to Learn. You'll post it on your blog to your Leap 3 page, and you'll make a tweet to the link. Here's the essence of it. Show me in this digital story that you've composed and performed an original short story that helps an audience understand who you are. And make sure your story enables you, the storyteller, to learn from the story that you tell by finding a deeper meaning in your own story. And then use language, and if you want image, it can be a podcast and you don't have to use images, but if you use video, you'll use language and image to offer a narrative that activates the emotion of the audience, using a dramatic arc that includes a particular moment that illustrates an insight. And your story prompts the audience to reflect on their own experiences and look for larger truths about the nature of the human experience. And you post it to your blog. Okay, so isn't that exciting? You get to do a digital story. So what questions do you have? Hey, Lynn. What questions do you have about digital storytelling? Due in a little more than a month and a half, 6 weeks out. It's going to be fun, right? What are you looking forward to about doing a digital storytelling, and what is scary about this project?
One thing I am very excited about is I'll be kind of moving into narrative texts with some of my classes at school. And so when they write their narratives, I typically write along with them. So I'm going to be doing a different type this time. So I would love to actually be able to model that for my kids and maybe give them an option of doing something like this too, because I think this seems really fun. So I'm hoping to maybe use it in my class as well.
Nice. I like the idea that the timing might work, that you'll be able to work on yours while they're working on theirs. So they are seeing you as a writer in action, building your digital story. Awesome. Other things you're looking forward to about this digital storytelling assignment or nervous about?
I think I can piggyback on that in that I'm hoping I can challenge myself to use a format that I haven't used before. Especially one that I might like to use at some point in time, like a podcast, and not fall back on the ones that I've had more experience with. But that's a little daunting, especially if I'm trying to, change the human condition.
Well, Pam, since I have seen your storytelling in action, I know that you have the capacity to do that. So I am not worried about it at all. But it's cool that you want to challenge yourself around a new format, or maybe a format that you want to become more knowledgeable about. Do you have any other questions about Leap 3? It's kind of far out in the future. Kathleen?
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that makes me nervous, it's not quite what Pam said, but I think always it's the technology that I haven't used before that makes me nervous. But one of the things that has really fascinated me with this class is the synchronicity that's going on around me. I finished the class last week and I found my piece that I'm going to work on this week. And just before class, I was playing around online and I found this quote, "Traveling, it leaves you speechless and then turns you into a storyteller." So I'm just thinking that it would be interesting to somehow work my story around that quote. So
isn't it beautiful how that happens? Yes, you kind of stumble through into like insights. And so now that quote inspires you to think about what's a story that sheds insight on that. Yeah, cool. All right. If you guys have questions about Leap 3, we'll be talking about that more, and obviously doing some more things that try to build your competencies about it. So I'm hoping that you, I wanted to make sure it got presented now so you could start that creative fermentation process, right? Where you're percolating possibilities without really feeling quite so urgent yet. Right? You've got a lot of time to not have to worry about that project. But I'm glad it's on your mind. Okay, so let's go back now to the, see if I can figure out how to get back to my digital authorship page. There, I guess I'll go back this way, the old-fashioned way. The activity that I want to do tonight is kind of got two parts. And I want to see if I can describe it and give you a sense of like, what's the point here? Because some of the readings dealt with the pedagogy of digital storytelling, like the how-to and the rationale, I feel like it's not so important to go over that again. But I do feel like there's aspects of digital storytelling I want you to be keeping in mind as we press on into the next turn that we're going to make this semester. And to do that, I thought we could do a two-part activity. I want to view and discuss this really cool video from Pixar about drama and conflict in animation. And after we watch this animation, this video about drama and conflict in animation, we're going to take a look at a digital story from the StoryCorps collection. So we're going to do not so much a comparison contrast, but kind of a see what bridge we can build between the first video, which is really educational and a tutorial kind of in a way. What should you be looking at with drama and conflict in animated video? And then what insights from the first video might be evident as we look at the example of a digital story? So that's kind of the plan. And what I'd like to do is do it in a small group discussion, since we are just a small group tonight. So here's the first task, and I'll ask you to give me a thumbs up if you think you understand it. We're going to offline watch Drama and Conflict, this Pixar Khan Academy collaboration.
Everyone knows that story.
It's only 4 minutes long. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to turn off your microphone and turn off your camera and watch this 4-minute video. And as you watch, you might want to make notes or just remember some key ideas that capture your interest and attention during this video. Okay, thumbs up if you know what we're doing now. Yeah, we're watching a video and we're gonna ask questions about it.
Can I ask, how do I turn off my my camera?
Ooh,
Sorry.
Yeah, good question. So I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna suggest that if you go down to the bottom of the screen,
Yep.
you're gonna see a black bar and you're gonna, it'll roll over it and you'll
Stop
see
video.
stop video and then stop mute. So
Perfect. Thank you.
mute your microphone, mute your camera, watch the 4-minute video, and then come back. All right, you guys are all over this. See you in 4 minutes. Okay, I guess I am back. Give me a thumbs up if you watched that video. All right. So key ideas that emerged from that video. What were they for you?
Stakes need to be high. Risk takers are good for storytelling purposes.
We need to be able to push our characters to the wall, because unless we do, we won't find out what's so important to them.
Nice. Good. What else? So my question to you is, what insights on stakes and risk taking, or stakes and risks, are relevant to our work as educators? So what does this film say about, oh, sorry, Lynn, Lynn, your audio is not working. So one thing you could try, Lynn, just to see, is that you can leave the Zoom, come back in, and at the top of your screen, you might notice like a pop-up. Sometimes there's like a pop-up blocking, and there's a pop-up that's going to block up, and it's going to say, please allow your microphone to blah, blah, blah. So you could try that and see if that works. Sometimes that works. Okay, so this idea of stakes and risk-taking, how does that apply to your life? Not just to storytelling, but to your life, your teaching, your job, your parenting?
I think a big part of the growing process as an educator is being willing to challenge yourself all the time and push yourself outside your comfort zone, and enroll in classes with different educators and meet new people and do all those things, because otherwise I think if we don't do that, we tend to stay in this kind of stagnant state where we're just in our classroom and we forget about everything that's happening around us. So kind of pushing out and taking risks and being vulnerable, it helps us grow. And I think it's great for our kids to see that too, that even as adults, you're constantly learning and trying new things, and sometimes failing in big ways and sometimes in small ways, but that's where growth happens. So
I think it relates to, I think I made a comment on one of my assignments the first week, that some of my biggest failures as a teacher were the things that I grew the most from. And when I took on teaching interns through UNH, and I had a student teacher working with me, and she was like so upset after a lesson, and I wasn't, because she wanted it to go perfectly and it didn't. But you got to roll with it. That's life. It's never going to be that way. But I did want to say about the Pixar, because I had a lot of things. I'm home a lot with my 2-year-old son, and WALL-E is his favorite movie. And I do a lot of journaling on my own, just here and there when I can, especially stuff about him. And I recently, after several viewings of the movie, started a journal entry on life lessons that you can learn from WALL-E. And there are so many of them, little subtle things, not just the ones that they mentioned, but like, just about being true and about being honest, and about just like I had a whole list. Sometimes breaking your directive is more important than, for the sake of your friends, I had a list of probably 17 things.
Wow.
And
so there's a rich moral code going on about values and about living a good life and what it means to live a good life that go far beyond the moments that were presented in this video. Wow, Lynn, thank you for sharing that. And boy, that is making me want to see the film again now too, the way you've just described it.
I mean, one of them was so kind of prophetic about having to disconnect from your screen and reconnect with people, because everybody in the movie is in their, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is, this goes well beyond the cute little story and of course it's probably my brain too, wanting a little bit extra stimulation as I'm watching it with my son.
Yeah. Yeah, but those messages are there. Thank you so much for sharing. So we're trying to make a connection between the little 5-minute, oh, hey, Jess, I see you there. Nice to see you. We just watched this little 5-minute movie on Pixar Animation's approach to stakes and risk-taking and drama and conflict and storytelling. And we're trying to make a connection to stakes and risk-taking in our own lives and in our own teaching. I wonder if anybody else has anything more to say on that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I had problems getting out and getting in, so I didn't see the whole video. I'll go back and watch it. But I think the important thing to me from just what we've shared is that we shouldn't ask our students to do anything that we're not willing to do ourselves. I think if we're asking them to do it, we need to demonstrate, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's all a learning process. So that's the piece that it leaves me.
Yeah, that's a great point. And in some ways that for me, the little film, it talked about this idea of that emotional stakes were part of it, right? That was really about your identity, right? And I think a lot about that in terms of I'm not sure I'm always so comfortable in being transparent about the risks and the challenges around my identity. That's hard to reveal because it's so on the edge of failure at every moment, right? It's a place of vulnerability, right? So it takes a lot of courage, I think, to be vulnerable in that way, right? In front of your students or in front of your people you love or anything. Okay, so we have some ideas about stakes and risks, and this idea that the way drama is constructed, the character has to be pushed up against the wall, has to face the impossible, and has to have the risk of something that really matters. The loss of identity, the loss of integrity, the loss of life without family. Now, let's see what connections we can make to that kind of didactic advice from Pixar on making a good story to one of the very first stories put up on the StoryCorps website. It's called The Human Voice, and it's a little tiny story from Studs Terkel. Okay? So now we're going to view and discuss the human voice. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to, I think maybe this time, because you guys did have a little challenges getting in and out of it, maybe we'll watch it from the screen. I'm not sure how that's going to go, though. My thinking is that doesn't go well. My previous experience with Zoom has been watching a video through Zoom is awful. So we'll do it the same way we did it before. I'll ask you to mute your microphone or turn off your screen, although you don't have to just mute your microphone if that's the easiest thing to do. And we're going to watch this very short story. It's only 3 minutes long from Studs Terkel, and we're going to see what connections can we make between the two videos. Give me a thumbs up if you got the concept. Yeah, this will be fun. All right, let's mute our microphones and then we'll take a look at what we can do. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're back. Finished watching Studs Turkle. All right, what connections can you see between our first video and our second video? Who wants to go first?
Volume.
We had no volume. I couldn't
Oh,
hear it.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You couldn't hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's watch it again. All right, ready? I'm going to start my share. Thank you for letting me know. That's not good at all. But let's make sure we can all see it to talk about it. Can you guys see my screen now? Yeah, you can. And let me just, Okay, we'll just watch it again. Can you thumbs up? Can you hear it now? The ribbon we opened our first recording booth at Grand Central Terminal. In 2005, one of our mobile recording booths pulled into Studs' driveway. It was the only time a storage booth has stopped at someone's house. This is one of the stories he told.
What has happened to the human voice? Vox humana. Hollering, shouting, quiet, talking, buzz. I was leaving the airport. This is in Atlanta. You know, you leave the gate, you take a train that took you to the concourse of your choice, and I get into this train, dead silence, few people seated, all standing. Up above you hear a voice that once was a human voice, but no longer. Now it talks like a machine. Concourse 1, Fort Worth, Dallas, Lubbock, that kind of voice. Just as the doors are about to close, pneumatic doors, when a young couple rush in and push open the doors and get in. Without missing a beat, that voice above says, because of late entry, we delayed 30 seconds. People looked at that couple. As a couple just committed mass murder, you know. And the couple is shrinking like this, you know. And I'm known for my talking. I'm Gabby. And so I say, George Orwell, your time has come and gone. I expect a laugh. Dead silence. And now they look at me. And I'm with the couple, the three of us, at the Hill of Calvary on Good Friday. And then I say, my God, where's the human voice? And just then there's a little baby. Maybe the baby's about a year old or something. And I say, sir or madam, to the baby, what is your opinion of the human species? Well, what does a baby do? Baby starts giggling. I say, thank God, the sound of a human voice.
Okay. All right, now you're probably ready to make some connections. What connections can you make between the first video we saw and this small little story?
Well, it talks about the human condition again. It talks about being human. It talks about having feelings. I loved his drawing the analogies between like how everybody wanted to crucify them because they're 30 seconds delayed. But yeah, it's showing where we're lacking humanity in certain areas, and it makes you question that about yourself.
Thanks for
I
sharing.
liked how we can see just one tiny little story, one little glimpse of a character and an experience, and how it points out that larger truth, as you said, about the human condition. And I think that's what I always love about stories, is that we can all, we can see pieces of ourselves or pieces of the world around us just in a couple characters. So I like that aspect.
Thanks for sharing. Other reflections?
I didn't see the first video, but what I got from it was that where we've lost that connection to have interaction with each other, and that we don't talk anymore. We're just busy sitting there on their phones. And even when you go to places, it's not people checking you out, you check out yourself. And I think that it's been more computerized.
In this video, he makes a point about the voice has become mechanical and that people are behaving mechanically toward each other. So when he makes the joke about Orwell and he doesn't get a response, it's sort of like these aren't really, people aren't behaving like humans. They're behaving like machines. Yeah, nice point. What else?
Well, one of the risks or the stakes that was mentioned in the Pixar video was losing your sense of self. And I got the sense that Studs, who is a consummate communicator, he called himself Gabby or a talker, was really losing a sense of himself and his own humanity when he wasn't getting mirrored in any way until the baby came.
Yeah. And
which
when
is why it felt like salvation to him.
Exactly. And when his effort to diminish some of the shame that was being projected on this couple, when his efforts to dislodge that were not effective, then he became implicated in that shame, and so that was how the crisis got larger.
Yeah.
I think it was Jessica, everybody's interested in checking out themselves, but we're really losing that self-reflection, ironically, by just looking at ourselves.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now, what did you make about the ending? So the ending is a very simple ending. The baby laughs, and then the story is over. And so how what's going on with that ending? Was that a satisfying ending to you? What do you think it means? How do you interpret it?
For me, it was satisfying because, and again, I don't know if I tend to view things in the most idealistic way possible sometimes, but to me, it was the hope for the human race is not lost. Like, there's still promise. We still have this next generation. We can do better. We have that opportunity.
Oh, there's the educator's interpretation. That makes perfect sense. This generation is screwed, right? But if we start with the young generation, maybe we can fix it. I like that. I'm with you on that. Any other ways you interpret that ending? Or what you like or dislike about it? One thing that I loved about it was the way Studs called the baby sir or madam.
Yeah.
Something like that. He gave an honorific term to address the baby. And I think that idea of if the theme is about, deepening our respect for humanity, the little moments like that, just calling the baby by a honorific term, just illustrates that idea of respect.
And speaking of illustration, I loved how the animator took that and made the baby bigger than Studs.
Yeah. I like the simplicity of the ending. I thought it, like Lauren, I thought it was pretty satisfying. And it really, the simplicity of the ending for me kind of just drove home the complicated nature of the problem. You didn't have to say any more than that.
Yeah. And similar to that, when he is making the comment about Orwell, and we see the sort of large faces of the kind of anonymous people in the airport, that the cold deadness of that also visually just captured that what the stakes are, the loss of humanity that comes from being that cold and unfeeling. So it's really interesting how a tiny little story could be so elegantly and simply told with such beautiful details. Lynn called our attention right away to that moment where the moment of shame is referred to in relation to Calvary, right? And little details, little beautiful moments of detail that just have a lot of rich evocation. And Pam, thank you for pointing out that what the storyteller is doing is one thing, and what the filmmaker is doing is something else. But here they really beautifully connect, and the filmmaker really amplifies some of the ideas that are in the spoken word text. So it's a pretty sophisticated and beautiful work. I'm sharing it with you for you to start thinking about how you're going to depict a story that has to do with stakes and risk, and stacking the odds against the character, and making it hard for them to achieve their goals, but somehow finding that opportunity for it to happen. You will find a story that works for you and makes a beautiful leap 3. I'm really excited and confident in your ability to do that. Okay, so let me just go back then to move through the activities that I'd like you to do for next week, because next week, digital storytelling was a fun week for sure. And this Friday, your leap ones are due. I've been looking on the Twitter stream to see that many of you are sharing, so I'm really pleased about that. But let's look at our topic for next week. Next week, we're going to get nitty-gritty into the challenges of implementation. The inquiry question we're asking for next week is, what are the challenges of implementing digital production activities in and out of schools? So, first activity, I think this will be fun. What I'd like you to do is make some choices in what to read. Let me just present this to you. I guess this will look a little bit better. Present this to you as a reading choice. There are 4 different pieces to read. One is a blog post. One is from the Create to Learn book. There are 2 other really interesting articles there. One called Video Making, Production Pedagogies and Educational Policy, and the other called The Cult of Creativity, Opposition, Incorporation, Transformation. And then The Challenge of Youth Media, and then the Create to Learn Chapter 9. So choose 2 of those, and then compose a listicle. Using ideas from the readings you've selected, and along with your own life experience, identify a theme that interests you. I think I should probably proofread here, but you can see I'm jet lagged, you guys, so I'll go back and fix my typos. Maybe tomorrow, because tonight, obviously, it's like 1 a.m. Europe time. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow. Create a listicle on your blog page to synthesize key ideas in an accessible, brief, and fun-to-read format. What's the definition of a listicle? Well, it's a piece of writing or other content presented wholly or partly in the form of a list. Be sure to create an engaging title for your work. And if you want to be inspired, check this out. A friend of mine showed this to me in Europe, and I'm just completely raved about it. Okay, it's called the Portents Content Idea Generator. You put in a subject here, like I'll put in ocean, right? And then it generates clickbait titles like 19 secrets about oceans the government is hiding. And then notice how it deconstructs in the blue bars. Can you keep a secret? 19 secrets. Make it relatable so that it appeals to a wide-ranging group of people. You already know you're going to end up writing about the moon landing. The government is hiding. Now the reader has to find out. Or if you don't like that one, you just hit this refresh button and it gives you a different one. Like how Tim Gunn makes oceans work. Or the simplest ways to make the best of oceans. Or how oceans are making the world a better place. Or how low can oceans go? All right. So think how fun it would be to write on that, but your job is a listicle, right? So our theme is the challenges of implementation. That's what the readings are about. It's like, this is a great theory, right? Kids should create to learn. Digital authorship is wonderful, blah, blah, blah. It's hard, right? And all the readings are going to show you how impossible this is to do, and you're going to compose a listicle. All right. At the bottom, of course, if you do use the sources you do use, you should cite, right? That's going to be fun. Okay, so then after that, I have something even more cool that comes from my week in Italy. Meat Tolerance is a project developed by Professor Maria Ranieri at the University of Florence in Italy. It aims at promoting a critical and intercultural understanding as well as aware use of media among young citizens in multicultural public schools and democratic societies. They collaborated with teachers in Italy, Germany, and Slovenia. We should just watch the little intro video before I give you the project that you're going to do. So we go to the main website. Quite an interesting project. And it was funded by European Union. We'll watch this little video here to get a feel for it. So, yeah, there. So the MEET educators created modules of instructional practices for addressing media and digital literacy in the context of looking at racism, stereotyping, issues of social justice. And our learning activity is going to model a little bit of some of the instructional practices that are used in the program itself. So we're going to form teams of 3 or 4. You'll view and discuss one video as shown on the list below, and I'll show that to you in a minute. Consider some of these questions as you review the video. You just really have to watch one. It's about a 10-minute video. As you watch the video, consider these questions. What do you learn about the teacher's goals, motivations, hopes, dreams, and fears? What was surprising or unexpected? What was typical and predictable? What changes did you notice in students' behavior during the learning experience? What did you notice about the teacher? What challenges are depicted in this video? How are the challenges depicted? How many cultural differences affect the implementation of learning activities like these? How effective were these learning activities in addressing challenges, including violence, racism, discrimination, and stereotypes? And how would these lessons need to be adapted to meet the needs of the American learners? You do not have to answer all of these questions. You should choose the questions that are most interesting and relevant to you. In your discussion, try to read and respond to the ideas of your team members to create a kind of asynchronous dialogue as you share ideas and interpretations. So here is the 3 teams. You'll notice there's 3 tabs, Team 1, Team 2, and Team 3. Team 1 is Lynn, Jessica, Michelle, and Scott. You're going to be looking at a really interesting video about students who are analyzing video games and movies representing different social groups, including migrants and refugees, right? And they're going to design video games with the theme of equal rights, right? So they're exploring the power of media representations and social justice. The video is here, and to watch it, it's in Italian, right? Because this is an Italian high school. You have to use the closed captioning tool on the YouTube video and toggle it to English, and then you'll see captions appear for the video, right? And if you want to see the whole lesson plan that the teacher uses, I made that available to you as well. Team 2. Team 2 is Cynthia, Lauren, Kathleen, and Ashley. You guys are watching a 10-minute video about a high school classroom in Germany where students explore political communication, where the topic of European migration is going on. And they're looking at how comedy and parody are used to address the topic of migration. And then students create personal video statements about the value of an open and unbiased society using simple technology and techniques. So the video is there, same thing. Team 3, this is Emily, Pam, and Brian. You guys are going to look inside a Slovenian high school where students are talking about identity and especially about role playing to consider how stereotypes of ethnic minorities are present in Slovenian society. And then kids create a radio podcast on the topic of diversity and human rights. Your discussion happens simply right down here in the discussion space for Team 1, Team 2, and Team 3. So you watch a 10-minute video, you make a comment, you read the comments of the other students, and you respond to them. So that should be fun because as you will discover, these videos are really interesting. They have a unique genre, and I think they have some special insights for looking at classroom practice. Of course, we'll have our classroom Wednesday next week at the same time, 7 o'clock. And I am sharing with you, just for you to read, your LEAP 2 project, which is due March 8th. So I'm just going to invite you to read that, and next week I'll answer any questions you might have about that. We won't talk about that tonight. And then, of course, you can prepare and start thinking about your storytelling project as well. So let's see what questions you have about the video viewing and reading activities that you have for next week.
So the group work that we're doing, are we doing that in class or is that done prior to class?
Great question, Kathleen. Thank you for asking. The group work that you're doing for Meet Tolerance is happening before class, and it's happening on this discussion board in the Pathright. So you'll watch the video that your team watches, you'll answer some questions, and you'll put your answers here in the discussion space, right? So when you click on this discussion space, it'll just open up a place, and you will essentially have a threaded discussion with just the 2 other members or 3 other members of your team. So that's due on Friday, February 22nd. Thanks for asking that good question. What other questions do you have? Okay, so that's pretty good. The inquiry question for next week: what are the challenges of implementing digital production activities in and out of school? Is something that is ideally addressed through reading what practitioners have said, looking at videos of classroom practice, and sharing your own stories. So that's the knowledge base that we're relying on for next week's class, right? Your experience with the challenges, videos that depict challenges, and readings where scholars and practitioners are trying to describe how they understand the challenges. Truthfully, I think one of the things I'm so interested in is that all of these challenges that we're going to be looking at next week are formidable. Any one of them could stop you dead in your tracks. And so for me, it's really a useful thing to deal with the kind of gap between, what's optimal and then what's possible, right? And to do that by looking at issues of implementation and how people find ways through challenges. It's kind of what we were talking about, that grow or die thing, just learn by failure and experimentation. So I think you're going to enjoy this week's activities. The thrill for me was to see these videos and go, oh my God, it was that serendipity that Kathleen was talking about. It's like I saw these videos from my friend in Italy. I was like, oh my God, these are perfect for my next week's topic. What a coincidence.
I had a question that
Sure.
I just thought of. It's probably something that you're going to talk about next week, but how we choose our partner that we're going to be collaborating with for week 2. Okay.
Oh no, I'm happy that you're asking that question, because if you did some chit-chatting with your team about that, that would be great. So Leap 2 has a little space at the bottom of it, the assignment. Okay, hold on here. There it is. Overviews the project. Here's what you're supposed to do. And then down at the bottom, use this space to find a partner. So this is where you can kind of like we did with the Summer Institute, you can advertise, right? I'm interested in blah, blah, blah. Anybody else interested in that? Because the two of you have to work together to create something on a topic that hopefully is interesting to both of you. So that's where you can, this is a private space where you could leave your email or your phone, or you could just say what you're interested in and start to form up that way. I believe I did when I emailed you tonight. I believe I left all of your emails in the email. So you also have a means, if you go back to your email from tonight's class, you have all the emails of, there's only 10 of us in this class, right? So feel free to start at least brainstorming with, who you might want to work with. I'm so glad you asked that question, Lynn. Thanks so much. What other questions do you have? All right. Well, you spent a whole hour with me, and I really enjoyed it. And I think because Lauren described the WALL-E film so beautifully that I am going right. I might not go to bed. I might go to Netflix and see if I can watch the WALL-E movie before I go to bed, because, that might be a good way to deal with my jet lag. So, all right. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday. I'll be looking for your Leap 1 assignments by midnight on Friday, and I'll be working through the weekend to try to give you some feedback. So by the time I see you here next Wednesday, you should have feedback on those beautiful Leap 1s. So I'll look forward to that. All right, I'll see you guys next week, all right? Good luck, bye-bye.